Well, good morning again, guys. I went to the little swap meet over at the fairgrounds today. By the way, I'll just show you that. And this is what I scored. 2 old Devilbliss spray guns. They're not the HVLP. Use a lot of air and they gotta suck. But they work good. That was the first gun I ever painted with. Long story short, we got to talking, and she was from Southern California down to LA and lost everything in the fire and was just selling junk out. And I told her my story. I lost everything in the fire, and she had a lot of stuff there. So I said, "What do you want for those 2 old spray guns?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't know." She says, "For a fire survivor, how about $1 a piece?" $2. And I says, "Well, for one fire survivor to another, how about 5? So I gave her $5. The needle on one of these is worth more than that. Well, anyway, they're good guns. They're all there. The needles are in them. But my $5 spray gun deal, I was pretty tickled about that. Anyway, I'm back here on this mess. I pulled this plywood out of there I was using for a floorboard. Sure got a lot of Bondo and trash. I'm gonna have to clean this up before I do anything, but I'll show you what I have to do. Probably can't see under here because I don't really have any light, but you can see that this inside piece here, it's sticking down about 1 inch above the fender holes. And I've got this floorboard about 1 inch above where it was originally designed to mount. So if this would have all been in the original holes, this whole thing would be down 1 inch. And that's quite a bit more than the other side. And it had some brackets in it, and it had holes drilled in it for the brackets. So this splash panel is where the original guy intended it to be. Of course, I can't use bowl holes anymore because I boxed the frame on the inside. So I have to put them on a stud. And between the frame and the top of the splash panels, about 3/4 of an inch. And what's keeping it from going up is right here on this big old motor mount that I cut. For some reason, that other one, it looks like it's hitting the corner of a fender over there. I'll have to work on that one too. But this one, I'm about 3/4 of an inch down from the fender, so I need to raise this splash shield up just so it'll match or be closer matched to this fender. Now I've measured this fender from the floor. That's where it's got to go. So in order to get those holes to match, I mean, I could just bore more, but kind of do it right, I need to raise that splash shield up. This this mount that I've got in here, I'm going to have to do something with these two. There's one in the, there's a hole in this one, and there's a screw in that one, so, and I'm real close to where that's supposed to go. So I'll buy his spacing away from the frame, and if I raise the back of this up, it's going to kind of twist this front, but it shouldn't be too bad. But I've got to do something. Let me show you the bottom of this thing. Yeah, now you can see that splash shield is like at least an inch down. Kind of all the way. So ideally I raise that splash shield up, and that's my body mount right there. So I'm going to have to cut that splash shield, cut a notch out of it as big as this, so it'll come up. I haven't completely decided what to do there, but in order to get this bumper where it's at now, I have to raise that splash shield. And if I put this this running board down where it was originally designed to be, I'm an inch low on the fender, and the fender's the right height from the floor. I'll look at it one more time, but I'm pretty sure that that's what I have to do, is raise that splash shield and go from there. Well, I went round and round in circles on this. I cut this out so it would raise up a little. I managed to raise it like a half an inch. See, it's clear in there. But it really didn't change a whole lot. And I went around and measured these cross beams in here, and they're all the same from side to side. They might be, you know, quarter, half inch off. None of that would cause that 1 inch gap in here. And I played around with it. Turned out I had a couple bolts of this fender that were still tight. I loosened them up, and I was able to rotate the fender down. And now I can get at least one bolt in the old hole. So that's good. This splash panel is really not bolted in, so it'd be pretty easy to bolt that up. And I was able to clamp this running board onto the fender. I should have never bent this in here. I hate to try to cut it because I've got a pretty good secondary piece inside it, but that's what I need to do. I can't leave a big old triangle gap like that. I think that's what I'll do, just split this again right there and bend it where it matches that running board. It don't have to come much. This looks like it's been out a lot, but the inside is only a little bit. You know, what I might do would be better off to just weld a little piece on here. That would be my cheapest, easiest way to do it. Just weld a little triangle onto this fender to cover that hole and leave that like it is. It'll bolt up solid inside. But anyway, I've got this fender down, rotated now. Tightened a couple bolts up. It's alright, I don't have it in the back yet, but it'll pull up. So I can see what I got here. I'm going to have to, one of the first things I'm going to have to do is mount this splash panel. I think this one here has been kinked, but I think it'll probably hold a bolt. I can drill straight into the frame and tap it, and then I'll put another one back here someplace. This is all going to be painted blue, the same as the car, that splash panel, but the frame will be black, so I have to make something that looks pretty good in there. And it's in good. And I still haven't finished cutting this thing off. That's going to be a lot of fun. I have to pull the headers off, and that steering column isn't going to be that bad. I should have done it before I put the motor in. Hindsight's 20/20. Anyway, now I've got it mocked up pretty much where it's going to go. Let's measure it and see what I got. Alright, this one, 7 3/4. I had to put a 1/2 inch spacer in here. This one is 9 1/4. This one, 9 1/2, a little less than a half, so that's almost perfect. This one is about 6 3/4. 6 3/4. What was the other one? Seven 3/4. Well, this is an inch higher, but I can see that I can pry that down. I don't really mind an inch higher. I can space the other one to make it the same. So anyway, without doing a lot of major cutting and welding on brackets, I've got this in an acceptable place. Now I just have to get under here. Looks like my bolt holes are almost lining up. I may just try to force a bolt in there and see where it goes. But that's all pretty good. Now I have to take it all apart again and beat that splash panel out wherever it needs it, so I can clean it up and prime it. I need to weld up this fender right here. And my bolt holes into here. See, one of them's lining up. So that's good on this. Just use that to hold it up till I clamped it. These bolt holes right here are pretty close to lining up. I think it's good enough to prime and try to bolt it together. I do have a lot of dents right here I should fix. So I think we're good to go here. Even this flash panel, it doesn't have to be perfect or anything, as long as the fender and running board's good. And a random board, I'm going to try to, I saw another Chrysler and it had a big chrome step plate right here. I'll try to, I doubt if I'll ever find one, but I might be able to make something that looks good. Anyway, another half a day of fooling with this, but I can see what I got to do. Get that splash panel mounted, make sure my bolt holes are in there, and I got to fabricate that 1-inch mount on both of these fenders, and then drill it and tap it. So that'll take a little while, but everything's good so far. This fender now is right at the bottom of that bracket, and it's about the same here, so it's symmetric. Now just a matter of making the mounts and getting it a little more permanent. Got a lot of dents here on this one. A lot of where that bondo dropped on it. And I'll have to do something about the corner of this one to make it look good. It'll just be one rounded piece. I can make that over a piece of pipe pretty easy. So still a lot of work. Just have to do it one piece at a time. Now I started knocking this fender down, trying to find the dents in it. Quite a few along the edge here. Up here, the worst part. Looks like somebody tried to fix this at one point in time. Yeah, they did a fair job. It just needs quite a bit more work. I'll just use a body hammer and start pecking on it. Try to knock some of these lows up and highs down. I'd like to get this front part real nice. Looks like it was probably hit here in the front. Crunched it and put a kink across here, and they just sort of pounded it out. The rest of the fender don't look too bad. I got some little stuff in it, and I know there's a big kink right there. But anyway, I'll work on this with a dolly for a while. Day's about done. I'm getting tired. Well, I got this front end here mostly beat out. I got this little kink fixed. There's a few dents in it here. Can't get to these two because there's a brace in there. I had to fill them. If feel I got a dent right here, but I'm sort of done here. I started working on that area there, but I need to take it off and lay it on its side or something to get the rest of this straight. So that's what I'm going to do, is pull it off and see what we can get. Well, I hammered and dollied on this an hour or so, and then I took my sanding disc there with 40 grit on it and started sanding on it so I can see my high and low spots. I can feel them, I can see them, but it's getting pretty nice through here. Little tiny dents I can fill, but it looks like this area right here kind of see how it's sort of crushed in here, forced this part out. So this whole area right here has got to be bent out. It's not really showing any high spots there. So I'll try to bend that up, flatten it out, and then knock this little corner here in so I can get a kind of a smooth thing. So this is the area I'm going to work on right here. I'll try to bring him back and show you what the results of that was. Well, I got this corner kind of pounded out. Still got a little ridge in it right here. But it's better than it was. I'll work on that ridge a little more, try to pound it down. And that'll give me more metal to come up with. It takes a long time and you gotta go slow. Well, I just tried to slowly work it from the corner across, but that's a pretty big dent. I could cut a slot in there and get it out, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat shrink this thing and see how much I can pull out. Let's say it's a 1/4 of an inch. So if I beat it out, I've got the edges straight. If I went ahead and forced it out, metal would probably be stretched so bad that I'd have a big hump. So I'm going to try to heat shrink it, see what kind of results I have with that. You can probably see a pretty good sized dent there. So I'm just going to heat it up here with a torch. Particularly right in the middle of the hole. Try to get this nice and hot. I don't have any more MAP gas, but this butane will work. Got a blue bottle. Yeah, I can see that it's stretching and making the dent deeper. It's probably hot enough. And I'll hit it with some good cold water. Yeah, that pulled it up a little. Try to pull it out right here. works. It doesn't want to get it hot very fast. I may have to heat it and hit it from the back. And I'm just trying to see what I can get done with this heat shrinking. Yeah, it's starting to discolor, so kind of an optimum temperature. Mr. Cold Water. Yeah, that pulled it up. Probably going to take several tries to get this. Try to pull a little bit up right in this area. Probably have to work there. You can hear it pop. Yeah, that's getting pretty hot right there. But you want to try to work from the outside of the dent in. And that way you don't have so much to do in one spot. There's that. Pull that up a little and try it right in this area. Have to get me a bottle of nap gas. This stuff just don't get hot enough or fast enough. Hopefully I can shrink this whole area up. Well, that looks pretty hot. Pull that up a little. We've got so much of it to do. Got a little ridge right here where I pounded it out. Well, this time I'm gonna got this jack stand under it, so it's gonna be hard to hit. Let me reset my propping methods up. Well, this time the shrinking is working, but that's an awfully big dent. What I'm going to try to do is just heat it up, hopefully while that metal's fairly soft. Try to pound it up with a dolly. And I'll try to start from the outside edge, work my way in. If I have to, I'll cut it, but I think I can get it straight enough to patch any little stuff with Bondo. That's pretty hot. Use both hands here. Well, with the tools I got, I'm never going to get this dent out. across here, I've probably got 1/4 of an inch. Can't really tell here because it's 3 or 4 inches on each side, but at least 1/4, 3/8 of an inch. It's a pretty good sized dent. It didn't really look like it when I started, but the thing was, it was kinked all the way across. So I think really the best way to try to do this is just slice it with a cut-off tool. Try to pound all those edges straight. I can get it a lot closer than it is, because right now I just heating it and pounding it from the back is just stretching it more, and that's the problem. I got metal's been stretched too much already, and I got to take the repair all the way down to here where I'm getting a regular surface, and all the way up to about here. So I could fill it with body filler, but I really don't want to do that. That's just too big of a patch. I mean, if it was, 2 inches or something, I'd probably buy that, but that's probably 8 inches in both directions. You put a big old piece of Bondo in like that, there's a real good chance of it popping out. So even though I hate to do it, I'm going to cut it, try to fix it that way. Now that wasn't too bad. I kind of cut it, sort of beat it out. I got it pretty much where it's supposed to go, and I'm going to grind it off now, and I'll try a little more hammering on it. I should have more luck now that it's closer, but it's a lot better, and if I do have to use much Bondo, it'll have a fairly small footprint. So just grind her down and see what happens. Well, that's done. I've got a little low right here, but it's a lot better than it was. Really, the best way to do this would be to cut that whole piece out, put another piece in it, but I don't want to do that. That relief I cut it there, you could hear it popping and cracking as soon as I cut it. It was under a lot of stress. Anyway, I got it all pretty much where it needs to go. I'm just going to coat this with fiberglass, and I think we'll be good to go. Well, it looks pretty good. I didn't put very much on it. Maybe 1/8 of an inch. Most of that's going to get sanded off. But I can tell that it's got a nice curve to it. Might have a couple of little low spots, I don't know. I'll have to sand it and find out. But that stuff worked real good up here. Fairly easy to sand. I worked with it before. But it's a lot harder. You can tell when it's dry, try to get it off of your spatula. Don't want to come off. But anyway, Looks like I got another little low in it right there. Anyway, I'm going to coat this whole thing with a layer of body filler anyway. Smooth it all out. But that big dent, which you really couldn't see, looks like I might still have a lot of high right here. Well, that can be all pounded down. I'll sand it and see what it looks like, and take the hammer and dolly to it again. But fender looks pretty good. I'll be able to finish it today. Time to take a break, get something to eat. Well, here's one of the final steps. I took off my headlight horn there, and sprayed this all down with rust converter, and you can smell it doing its thing. It's pretty cool in here, so it'll take a while for this to dry. I'll let it set like a half hour. But I got some more of the dents right out of here, out of the front. I decided what I'll do with this one. I'm going to go ahead and weld this up a little better in the back. And I'm just going to take a cutoff tool and grind me a gap right in that weld, so it'll look good. Otherwise, I'm going to have a seam all the way up to there, then smooth, and I'd have to do it to this one. I don't want to, so I'm going to make a fake seam. These will match. I got to cut that one a little, clear the shock. Don't have a shock in that one yet. This rust converter, I'm not too pleased with it. The other stuff's much better. It leaves a pretty tough coating on it. And this one looks like the only coat you got is where it's converted to rust. But it was a lot cheaper, so I bought it. I'll use it. I'm gonna cover this whole thing with the body filler anyway to get a good paint job. I'll just put that on there to stop the rust, and then put the Bondo over top of it. Here's Mr. Fender after it dried, washed off. You can see this little white stuff here. I think it's not iron oxide. Iron oxide's rust, but changed it into something else. I forget what it's called, but it don't look like it's really penetrating real good or getting heavy rust out, but it is converting some of it. I put quite a bit on here and let it set for a long time. It looked a lot whiter before I washed it, but anyway, this should be a good enough surface to flood this with filler. You can see my fiberglass places I put in here. Pretty straight. this fiber, the filler, of course, will finish that. So I'll let this dry a little more and put a quick skim coat on the whole thing and kind of work on my low spots mostly.